But the Xingu region is where all of the major LiDAR came out within the last 10 years. They found all the ruins of these giant cities. And there's a city called Kiriguyu, I think. And it had an estimated population of about 1 million people, which is the size of Rome. Whoa. And, when you look at the LiDAR images, you can't get a perspective of how big they are. I have access to a LiDAR database of the entire United States, and I've mapped all kinds of huge uncharted mound sites in Florida, all of the Southeast. I have hundreds of sites marked. And when you first look at them on a map, you're like, oh, okay, like maybe that looks like it's 50 feet long or something. No, they'll be like 300 yards long, like these giant raised platforms in the middle of the forest here in the U.S. And if I had access to LiDAR data like that where I could measure it down in the Amazon, some of these things are miles long. Like raised platforms are a mile long, and they have highways. Like, maybe we should pull up just an image of a LiDAR scan from the Amazon. But you'll see this central city area. You'll see step pyramids and raised platforms. Maybe this is where people lived, or maybe this is where the market was, and there will be a road that cuts straight through it, and you can see the road just goes off in the distance for miles and miles and miles. And so what they would do, here we go. Yeah, this is this is one of these sites I believe this is in Brazil, or maybe it's in northeast Bolivia.
And is all that area covered completely with jungle right now?
Completely covered in jungle, yeah. So if you went out there,
you wouldn't see any of this.
You may not realize that you were standing on a mound. Like, you really got to train your eyes. I put out this, I filmed this little series about 1.5 years ago called Jungle of Stone, where I was going through the jungles in Central America, and we charted this city that had 16 pyramids in it. We were there all day long, and we charted 16 pyramids. And when I put it out, I got all these comments that are like, you're not doing anything but walking on a bunch of hills, because it's so hard to see it. The jungle just claims everything back. So you really have to sit with seeing these things in person for a while before you start recognizing, oh, that is a mound, or that is a pyramid, that is a structure under the jungle. And so Percy Fawcett, where that LiDAR came out, is one of the places that he told his wife. He didn't share this publicly where he thought that the city was, but it's like bang on. He was exactly correct about where he thought a city would be, and we don't know if he reached it or not.
Wow. It's so interesting, because how long has LiDAR been around for?
I don't know.
And how long has it been used? I mean, think about for how long people had no idea that this existed, because it was completely covered with jungle. They just assumed that if there was evidence of a civilization, it would be pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But it's not. And it makes me wonder, like, as technology increases in its potential, like, what other new technologies will be discovered that will allow you to, instead of like having this ambiguous view of under the pyramids, have like a crystal clear, like accurate dimension by dimension, almost like a 3D map.
This century for sure. This century is going to be insane. Yeah. It's going to be insane. Like, you're going to have everyone scanning everything. All of the Amazon will be mapped with LiDAR by the end of this century. All of the Sahara is going to be mapped with LiDAR by the end of this century.
The Sahara is a big one. Right?
Yeah. Well, those are my two big things. Like, when we talk about Atlantis and we talk about lost civilizations, I mean, my thing is the Sahara and the Amazon. Both of these things existed pre-Ice Age, especially if we're talking about pre-Ice Age civilization. The Sahara is an oasis, 10,000 plus years ago. It's an oasis. You have, 2 or 3 of the world's largest lake systems on there. You have rivers everywhere. It would have been like a beautiful place to live.
Abundant resources, so there's no worry about food and shelter. You have plenty of time to figure things out, which is the thing that has always made sense to me. If you know the history of the Nile Valley and where Egypt was, like, that was a wonderful place to live, to try to figure things out, right? Because you have so much food. And once you have so much food and you're kind of separated from everybody, it's really tough to get to you. So, like, they lived unchallenged in that civilization for thousands of years.
So what I see in the Amazon is traces of a lost science, a scientific mindset. Can I show some pictures of these geoglyphs?
Please.
We have to hook up the magical
HDMI.
And I'll just show a few slides of them. I forget which side the HDMI is in. I think it's in that side.
Careful with the water.
Yeah.
Got it?
Okay. Are we on screen?
We will be momentarily. Here we go.
Yeah, so this shows the Amazon, 6.7 million square kilometers. There's still 5.5 million left covered by rainforest. That's bigger than the entire subcontinent of India, and hardly any archaeology has been done. And the archaeology that is being done is fascinating. And it's particularly in the state of Acre, in the southwest of Brazil, that we're seeing these extraordinary geoglyphs. Now, I'm on the left there. That's Martti Parsanen from the University of Helsinki. And that is Fabio Filho, who's the LiDAR expert. And that's Alceu Ranzi, who's a Brazilian geographer and archaeologist. And we're looking at the latest LiDAR discoveries. And there I'm about to take off in a plane with these two guys. It was just incredible to fly over there. I've flown over the Nazca lines many times, but to fly over this and to see these huge earthworks on a scale of hundreds of meters sitting there, often encroached on by farms, was very, very, very exciting.
And what's the conventional explanation for these things?
There is no conventional explanation because really it's only begun to be studied. Alceu first noticed them on an overflight more than 20 years ago, but it's only relatively recently that they've started to get the funding. And I want to pay tribute to Eugene Zhong, who is a philanthropist who has provided funding for these guys to continue their work, and who's also provided funding to the Comet Research Group, and who's also provided funding for the DMT research that's being done at UCSD.
What's his name?
Eugene Zhong. He's a brilliant
Eugene
guy.
Zhong.
J-H-O-N-G. He's a brilliant philanthropist, and he's so open-minded, and he's looking to support research in areas that the mainstream just won't touch.
That's amazing.
So we're looking at Fazenda Cipoal here, where we have an octagon with rounded corners. And then this is Santa's shot of the same place. And you can see what's going on. You see the smoke in the background there? Mm-hmm. That's the Amazon burning. That's settlers clearing the Amazon to create more farms. But in the foreground, we have this enormous geometrical event, which is a huge oval surrounding a square.
And did they find this once they started clearing? Is that when this...
This was found as a result of the clearances. That's how it became... Archaeologists became aware that these things exist.
So before that, this was completely covered with trees?
Completely covered with rainforest. It was only it's a sort of mixed blessing or mixed curse, if you like, because the clearances made it possible for us to know that these things exist. But the clearances ultimately will destroy the entire Amazon if they're allowed to continue. Jacosá, on the left, a square surrounding a circle. And here's a couple of Santa's shots of Jacosá. You can see there's a large square earthwork and a circle in it. That's almost, not quite, but almost like the Greek exercise of squaring the circle. It's like geometrical exercises are taking place here in the Amazon. Again, a square with these curious scallops cut into the side of it and a circle. There's just so much of this stuff. Taquino, absolutely giant geoglyph. And these things really, on the old view of the Amazon, shouldn't exist. They involve enormous expenditure of effort. Creating these earthworks is a huge job. If there was a lot of stone in the Amazon, I think we'd see stone circles on them as well. There's one place further north called Rego Grande where there is an earthwork with a stone circle in it because stone is locally available.
So do you think this was the base of a structure? Like, what is the speculation?
No, I don't think so. I've talked to indigenous people there who still respect and revere them. And they say that they were for shamanic journeying, that the population would gather within them, that there would be certain areas that might be reserved for the shamans. For example, the square on the left, those two cut-out areas, top left and right of that square, it suggested that shamans were in there and the rest of the population were in the other area, and they were undertaking visionary journeys, perhaps using ayahuasca. Of course, the Amazonian peoples are experts in the properties of indigenous plants.
So this is their folklore, or this is their story?
Yes, this is the story of indigenous
so that's
indigenous
what they
people.
say,
I talked to an Apurina elder, and he said, we don't know exactly why these places were made. They were made so long ago, but we respect them, we revere them, and we think that they were used by shamans in the distant past.
So they were aware of them before the clearing and everything?
Yeah, they were aware of them before the clearing, and they revered them. Yes, they used them, and they still have community gatherings in them. No,
Yep.
they weren't a base for structures. I'm drawing attention here to Severino Calazans, this large square on the left there, which has coincidentally the same footprint as the Great Pyramid of Giza. It just shows you the size of that enormous earthwork. But it's a mystery. More work needs to be done, and much more needs to be surveyed. And thanks to LiDAR, that can be done non-invasively. We can spot these things. Very small teams can go in and do a bit of excavation there and figure out what was going on. I think the story is going to go back further and further into the past.
Is there any evidence of wood structures? Like, did they make buildings out of wood back then?
Not that I'm aware of.
When did people start using wood as a structure?
I think you can trace wood back as a structure hundreds of thousands of years.
But when did they start using it in, like, if you see like the ancient Mayan civilizations, what you find in the Amazon, you don't find ancient wood structures, do you?
I think that's largely an artifact of the fact that wood doesn't preserve very well.
Right. So how do we know that there weren't wood structures?
There may well have been
over these.
There may well have been, which
Right.
have just rotted away
Right.
and gone. There may well have been wooden structures there.
Because it kind of looks like foundations.
It does look like foundations, and it's just a very weird thing. But I think the main point is
Someone made it.
Someone made it,
Yeah.
and it involved a very large amount of organized labor in order to make it. There had to be the will and the intent in order to do that. It's interesting that the patterns are geometrical.
And are they geometrical, like with the perfect length? And
Yes,
like
they're very
match up with each other?
They're very, very good. Fazenda Pirana and Severino Calazans are both aligned to true astronomical north. That's different from compass north. That requires astronomy. You can't get true north without using astronomy. So this tells us not only was there a culture that was capable of creating large-scale public projects, but also they had astronomers amongst them.
Wow.
It's a good mystery. The other thing is the geometrical patterns are very common experience in ayahuasca visions in altered states of consciousness. Our culture tends to despise altered states of consciousness, although fortunately that's changing. But in the Amazon and many indigenous cultures, they're regarded as extremely important, that we can't confine ourselves to the everyday wide-awake state of consciousness that requires us to interface with the physical world. There are other states of consciousness which are also valuable and which bring teachings. And it's just one of those facts that most people who drink ayahuasca, most of the time, at some point will experience geometrical visions. So there's a question: is there a connection here between the use of ayahuasca and the geometrical patterns? There's a huge rock wall has been found in the Colombian Amazon, Serra de la Lindosa, which I'm hoping to get to this year. 8 kilometers long, covered in rock paintings. The rock paintings are dated more than 12,000 years old. They show extinct megafauna. They show giant sloths which went extinct during the Younger Dryas, for example. And they also show the kind of entities that are seen in ayahuasca visions. They show the same sort of patterns, the same geometric patterns that are seen in ayahuasca. So there's a sense that...
Do you have any images of this place?
Serra de la Lindosa.
You're connected to the...
Yeah, I don't have images of La Lindosa on here.
Oh, maybe you could Google it.
But if
or give the plug
Yeah,
back
I'll
to
take
Jamie.
the plug back. I was trying to Google it and I didn't find anything. And I might have spelled or guessed wrong on Serra
How do you spell it?
de
La Lindosa.
La Lindosa?
Yeah. Let me just...
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
You're going to have to give him the cord real quick, and then he'll give it back to you.
Okay. There you go. It's literally an 8-kilometer Sistine Chapel in the Colombian Amazon. That's the other thing. I mentioned there's not a lot of rock in the Amazon. Where there is rock, they used it. There's rock paintings all over the Amazon where rock is available. These kind of things. Yeah, that's it. These are characteristic of ayahuasca visions, but in this case, they're more than 12,000 years old. Now, does that prove they were using ayahuasca 12,000 years ago? No. But
That's very similar to like a tryptamine vision, though.
Totally. It does suggest that some tryptamine was being accessed at that time and resulting in these visionary images.
Boy, they shitty drawers, weren't they? Their drawing was terrible.
But bear in mind that they're clambering 100 feet up a sheer cliff in order to
Guys, do a better job. It's ridiculous.
Create these paintings.
The people were so fat. Are those people or sea turtles? What are those things? It's really interesting to see. So this is 11,000. How old?
12,000.
12,000 plus.
Yeah, 12,000 plus years old.
It's interesting because if you see the paintings that they found in that cave in France, those are 30 plus thousand years old.
Oh yeah,
right?
there's paintings in France. If you go to Chauvet, you're looking 36,000 years old.
Can you go to those, Jamie?
Hohenstein-Stadel in Germany.
That's that amazing Werner Herzog documentary.
They often have.
I think was the Cave of Dreams.
Cave of Dreams.
Yes.
Yeah. They often
Look at
have.
that.
We're looking at Lascaux. Hang on the. Yeah, we're looking at Lascaux there. The bull painting there is interesting.
Were better artists.
They were.
They were.
I have to confess,
they were quite a bit better.
This art is very good. If you go, Jamie, if you go to the NPR, the painting of a bull, one step left from where you are, that one. This is very interesting. There has been an argument made by a couple of astronomers that what is depicted there is the constellation of Taurus, and that in itself is heresy, because archaeologists who want to give everything to the Greeks say that it was the Greeks who invented the constellations of the zodiac, and not shown.
Why do they think that represents the constellation?
Because of the 6 little dots, which are not, I think, on the head. I think they're somewhere behind, not in this picture, which is often how the Pleiades are seen. They're seen. Actually, there are 7 Pleiades, but often to the naked eye you see 6. And the positioning of the Pleiades in relation to the constellation of Taurus is the basis for that argument. It could be. I'm not sure. It's so long since I've looked at this, but I know that there are six dots there. So this cave art was going on all around the world. It's found that some of the oldest art has been found in Indonesia.
Oh, here it is. Here's the.
Yeah, there's the Pleiades. The whole argument about the Pleiades. It's those dots exactly. The ones you pointed to above the back of the bull. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is how the Pleiades are often seen with the naked eye.
Can you go back to the other image? Yeah. Wow.
You know, that. It's an argument. It's not accepted by mainstream archaeology because of their narrative, which is that the discovery of the constellations of the zodiac is given to the Greeks or perhaps to the Mesopotamians before the Greeks. It's not thought that any human culture could have noticed the constellations of the zodiac before that, and that's really absurd because the constellations of the zodiac are on the path of the sun. The sun rises against the background of a different constellation every month. And how would the ancients have missed that, especially since the skies were an ever-present phenomenon to them in a way that they are not to us.
Right.
We're cut off from the skies by light pollution, but the ancients were not.
What a fascinating concept that they knew about the constellations 30+ thousand years ago.
Yeah, and I believe they did. And we see that again in Göbekli Tepe, in Pillar 43 in Enclosure D. You see a constellation that we recognize as Sagittarius.
If you enjoyed today's episode on JRE+, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you.